Stones have no hope of being anything but stones. However, through collaboration, they bring themselves together and become a temple. The rock. For most people, it's just a cold piece of material without life. For the rest, it's an irreplaceable building material. But for some, it's an inspiration, a symbol of strength and stability, and a witness of distant past. Only time, nature, and man have been able to give it shape since time immemorial. The rock in Butkov hill originates from 200 million years ago, and the local cement plant in Ladze has been mining and processing it since 1889. It's the first cement plant built in the area of today's Slovakia. Not only does it provide jobs to hundreds of people, it also contributes to the social, cultural, and especially spiritual life of the whole Považie region. Build a cross on this hill was the order for Anton Barcik, CEO of the cement works. It was heard after the prayer of the people accompanying well-known exorcist priest alias Vala. They arrived to the 11th level of the quarry on the 9th of July 2012. Nobody anticipated that there would be thousands of people arriving in a few years. Within a few months, they built a 12-metre-tall cross anchored in the rock at 584 metres above sea level. In the 3 following years, they built the memorial of St. John Paul II, the memorial of St. Sister Faustina, and the Chapel of God's Mercy, where they keep the relics of 7 mostly young saints. On the other side of the hill, in a beautiful green environment, they built 14 stations of the cross in 2016. Each of them is a small chapel under the open sky. On carefully selected stones, there are plaques depicting individual stations. On both sides of the marble tables, there are the numbers of the stations engraved, including the words of Jesus Christ from the diary of St. Sister Faustina. Every day there are more pilgrims arriving to Butkov, finding St. Sister Faustina and St. John Paul II as guides on their pilgrimages. Yet they don't know that there will be another great work waiting for them here in the future, a monumental statue of the Virgin Mary, Mother of Mercy. Academic sculptor Vladimir Vishvader is asked to fulfill this special task. The 6-meter-tall statue should stand on a 3-meter-high base and should be blessed 2 years later during the 10th anniversary of the establishment of the Žilina diocese. It's an incredible challenge, an honor and responsibility at the same time. In the past, there were countless numbers of artists who depicted the Virgin Mary and gave her various shapes. Butkov Maria should be human and inviting, with open arms expressing invitation and protection. She should call people to hide under her protective cloak. To create a 1-meter-tall model made of clay is the most important, but only the first step. There's a long journey leading towards the 6-meter-tall statue made of rock. Immediately after the approval of the proposed model, they will take the silicon mold from the model and create the one that will serve as a first movable original that will remain in Butkov after the blessing as well. There isn't too much time, and we need to come up with a way to quicken the work. Polystyrene blocks might be helpful. At first, it's necessary to rent a sufficiently large hall where it's possible to construct mobile scaffolding, and we can start working. It's not easy to make a 6-meter-tall copy from polystyrene to make a mold, but using any other material would take longer. And what's more, it will serve as a base for the paint under the modeling matter. After application of the special paint, one can start modeling after a few months. Now in real size. Each part, each detail, each bend of the dress has to be felt and revisited all over again in order to find the proper shape. There is no such sculpture of Virgin Mary with this kind of face. It comes from the sculptor's heart. I'm grateful for the ways of inspiration that led me to this form, admits the author, as if I was guided by an invisible hand. Now the model is ready for another step. In order to move it to the studio, we need to split it into 6 parts, from which we'll make individual casts. The individual parts do not weigh a lot yet, but they need to be handled with care so they don't get damaged. There are many ways to create a sculpture, but at this size there is no easy way. The author and his team have chosen a so-called lost form. At first, we need to make a good and solid mound. After its completion, the original is destroyed in order to tamp down the special rocky mixture into it. At this point, there is no space for the smallest mistakes. It would be an immense problem to make a new mold after getting rid of the original. The rocky material that was tested in advance is based on cement and limestone fillings. After maturing, the material is very compact, long-lasting and workable. But first we need to remove the mold by gradually cutting off the mold from the statue, keeping its uniqueness and originality. And last but not least come the hands. Some final adjustments, and the statue is ready for a long journey to Butkov hill. The statue with the base will weigh 22 tons. Therefore, a large truck is necessary. But it can't reach the studio, and so the smaller pieces need to be transported using a smaller crane. Each piece has a different weight, and the heaviest weighs 5 tons. That's why their placement on the truck deck is extremely important. After a few hours, the precious freight is loaded and can embark on its journey. After a seemingly endless year and a half, the statue finally arrives to Ladze. But in order to get to the top of the hill, it must overcome the last obstacle. It has to be reloaded to a smaller truck and make its way through the quarry up to the 11th level of the rocky sanctuary where it's going to be put down. It's unbelievable. This thing, seemingly impossible in such a short time, became a reality. The statue is here. So far only in separate parts, but everybody's looking forward to the last desired step. The assembly of the biggest monument of the Virgin Mary, Mother of Mercy in Central Europe. The first piece is in place, followed by another, like a big puzzle. Together with the base, it will be 9 meters tall, so the new higher scaffolding will be necessary. The lifespan of the statue, if not damaged, is more or less limitless. Its weight will secure its wind resistance. But let us not rush. The second half has to wait until another day. Part of the material comes directly from this hill, so they are mutually connected forever. We can say that the rock from Butkov Hill united Slovakia, not only materially, but also spiritually. Steel rods and further mixture will reinforce the statue even more. Of course, including a message for future generations is vital. In this case, using a plastic wrapping will be optimal. It lasts the longest. Proper placing and angling of the hands is extremely important. They should express the gesture of the Mother of Mercy. Everybody is working non-stop as if they don't feel the exhaustion. All those months in the hall, studio, and now on the rock, step by step, movement by movement, the results of creative work begin to show. Cold and lifeless mineral gradually transforms into a fine piece of art with a soul and a message. Suddenly, one feels a kind of sadness that the end is getting close, but every end means a new beginning. The final paint shouldn't change the color of the statue. It should only protect it and reinforce it. The rock is beautiful in itself, and the statue will get its color from the light itself. The daily movement of the sun, clouds, it all influences the contrast and shadow placement. The ceremonial day of the blessing is close. The statue is finished. The metallic beads and the sign need to be affixed to the base. The arrangement is very important. Even a small mistake can spoil the overall impression, but everybody is doing their job in a professional way. The work can be heard everywhere. The surroundings need to be ready as well. The monument of the Virgin Mary deserves a proper place. I am not only the Queen of Heaven, but the Mother of Mercy, and yours too. That is the inscription from the diary of Saint Sister Faustina, through which she will welcome the pilgrims. May the 19th, 2018, the day of blessing the exceptional deed of human talent, work, sacrifice and humbleness. More than 6,000 pilgrims from all the regions of Slovakia, Poland, the Czech Republic and Austria came to be direct participants of this exceptional event. On the eve of the descent of the Holy Spirit, the Bishop of Žilina, Monsignor Tomáš Galis, in the presence of dozens of priests and monks, blessed the unique statue of the Virgin Mary, Mother of Mercy. This work proves that each of us can change the world in the passing time that has been given to us, in the places where we live and work. Thank you for leaving this unique spiritual trace on this hill for future generations, added Anton Bartzik humbly, without whom Butkov Hill would not be what it is now. The rock. For most people, it's just a cold piece of material without life. For the rest, it's an irreplaceable building material. But for some, a vision, message, and mission. Talent, passion, and humbleness. But also cooperation, trust, mutual help, and friendship. The rock from Butkov became a real temple, thanks to the cooperation and the will to prove something unique. And the hill has become a sought-after place for thousands of pilgrims and believers. It has become a place of prayer, God's peace, and mercy. In the statue of Virgin Mary, they find not only the symbol of endless faith and maternal love, but also a hug, protection, and perhaps a small touch with heaven.